All right, so we are on Twitch, and let me check YouTube. Sounds like something in my computer is making a horrible noise.
Is your hamster sick?
It may be. All right, we are on Twitch and YouTube, so welcome everyone. It is a Monday morning, and Twitch is still auto-playing, so still have to look into that. So that's aggravating. But anyway, here to provide support and answer any questions about our software and services primarily. And if you'd like to ask any of those, you can jump over to our IRC chat at foolishtechshow.com, foolishit.com/live, and you'll have a couple ways to join us there. It looks like we got Leon, Juke, and Glenn already there this morning. Glenn's running on very little sleep, he sounded like. He's had quite a long weekend, so welcome, Glenn. Thanks for joining us, even though you're sleep deprived. And welcome, Leon. If either of y'all have any questions, feel free to shout them out in the chat there. We'll be sure to interrupt whatever we're rambling on about and talk about that directly. So, how's everybody else doing?
Doing pretty good. I had a fun weekend. I went tubing down the Dan River with my son.
The Dan River?
Yeah, it's a
River.
It's a river. Class 1 rapids. It's nothing.
Which son did you go with? Old son or new son?
Matthew. I wasn't going to take you down the river.
Taking babies down the river, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So, Nick had pointed out that we had a d7II question. Let's check into that. 1 sec, I'm getting it pulled up here. So, a person had a question about d7II, wants to set it up to run an automated stress test benchmark on computers that they sell. They also want to have a printable report where it shows the results of the tests so they can give the customer when they buy it. Is benchmarking stress testing automation possible with D7? Pretty sure it is, but I'm not quite sure how I would go about it. And any help would be great. Thank you all. Well, the d7II does have stress testing on it. I'm not sure if it's going to be automated to the point that he's probably looking for and sounding for. I'm not sure how the reports would go out on that. Nick, did you have any more you wanted to add on that? But I can pull up D7 and we can check it out here.
No.
Okay. Getting my virtual system up here. There is great stress testing in D7II. That is one of the things that Nick had focused on even back when we were in the shops together. Let's see, where's my test system? Alright, let's get my test system up here. Proctor, do you do any stress testing of systems before you sell them?
Not a whole lot.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the stress testing I would do usually was on systems that I put together, not pre-purchased systems. For the most part, I wouldn't do too many stress tests on laptops and things like that. I feel like sometimes maybe that's worse for them, but maybe that's just me. Silly VM.
It's not just you.
It's just me. It's not bad for them.
Personally, I always stress test overnight PCs that I build.
Well, I'd say I agree with ones that I build with various pieces of hardware, but
A pre-built one, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I don't think it's absolutely required. But you know, I would stress test it sometime within the warranty period. You know.
it is good to find out things break before the warranty period's over. But I feel like I stress my systems enough, and
Yeah,
that I give them.
The sooner you break a system that you purchase within the warranty period, the more likely you are to get something done about it.
That's true, because
you know, no one's going to warranty something that you stress test a week before the warranty's out, and then you contact them because you're having overheating issues or something.
or they're going to help you. It's just going to take them a week and a half to help you.
Well, but they'll find a way not to help you. Like almost in any during any quote unquote warranty period, they're going to find a way not to help you. But like the first week or two, you know, first 30 days maybe, they have to pay more attention to you. I guess I don't know, you know, why that is, but it's like, oh, I just unboxed this and something's not working properly. You know, that they're more likely to help you then than, you know, I've been using this for 9 months and I have an issue.
I don't know if I've just been extremely lucky or if it's the components I picked, but I've had very few DOA.
Oh, that was fun.
It seems like when you buy something but it's never tested when you buy something pre-built. I mean, it's just like the parts are tested, like not those particular parts, just like some parts, you know.
Yeah.
Like the same part, you know, in a test system. They're not gonna bench everything. They might pull like one, you know, out of every whatever's that are made, but they're not gonna pull every one.
Guys, my internet just dropped out for a second, so I'm pretty sure people on our stream missed some of our conversation. My apologies.
Yep, and Glenn just said that. So, Michael, you broke your internet again?
No, I didn't do anything. I don't know what happened.
That much is obvious.
Yeah. You end up saying that quite a bit about your internet.
It's been going out intermittently for both my parents and I for the several weeks now. Not really sure why it happens, but
It has been raining a lot.
I don't think it has to do with the rain because it's happening with my parents.
Oh yeah, because your parents wouldn't get any of the rain that you're getting.
No, but my issue with my cabling is an issue for them.
Yeah, but the cabling at the road is, dude. It's not. I mean,
or even further down the road.
Yeah.
Cable at the box, or the cable at their little hut house that
repeaters and what you do hickeys and.
I just know if I was having crappy internet and my neighbor was having crappy internet, I'd probably suspect there was a problem with the ISP.
Yep. I had an issue a while back with Time Warner. Okay, maybe it was early 2000s. But it was we kept having this issue with the just intermittent loss, but it was horrible. And then I was playing MMORPGs, and it was like. Can't do it. So I had finally the fourth tech or fifth tech. It was like 5 trips. that came out was like, because everyone was like, oh, there's no problem, or just release your modem, and we'll check the wiring in the apartment. But finally, the second to last tech that came out was like, and he had to come back again, but it was like, yeah, no one really knows this, and I'm not really supposed to say, but we're doing an experiment in your area with some new gear, and we'll just have to take that out. Obviously, it's not working. Yeah. I was like, yeah, thank you. So, Michael, you have something to go on. You actually have a strong case when you call the cable company. There's an issue with your neighbors as well. I guess was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've already tried calling them, and every time, and the thing is, they're
But call them your
they
neighbors.
they well they call they call. The problem is that when they send somebody out, they charge you if they don't find anything wrong, and they keep claiming they don't find anything wrong, and so basically, unless I can,
they did to me.
yeah, but I mean, I'm in the whole money, unless I can absolutely prove to them my.
But how can they charge you for their infrastructure? You can absolutely prove to them if your neighbor has the same exact issues. Get a couple of neighbors.
Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on demand. I can say it's happening over there, but they just have to take my word for it. I mean,
yeah,
because every time they come out,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen conveniently.
why don't you record a video and ping something for a while? I don't know. I mean, just
Yeah, I was about to say you have logs,
you can do this. You can take care of it.
especially if you have an internet gateway.
Yeah, the logs isn't the issue. Have you ever tried to show logs to a technician that comes by? You know they don't care. You know, it's like, oh, we don't care. It's just what we do that matters. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know that, but still, you can have them. So be like, look, I have these logs, so there is an issue. You're not going to charge me. You're going to figure out what this issue is.
Have you have dealt with cable company customer service before, right?
Yeah, I've been a part of cable company customer service.
Oh, so you're the reason the world is the way it is. Oh,
I know how to deal with it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, they've gotten worse since you've been there, by the way.
Okay. I was gonna say it hadn't been that long. A couple years, right?
Glenn,
A couple of years
yeah,
is more than enough.
been that long. Glenn fought his ISP and he won.
That should be a song.
That's what I was thinking.
I fought the ISP.
Yeah, that I was going for that, Bob Marley.
So I just have to look forward to 3. So I have to look forward to 3 years worth of going back and forth with them till I get it resolved. Okay, I guess I should start today then.
Should have started way earlier. All right, I got
Get your evidence together and call them up and say, hey, I've got a problem. My neighbor has a problem. You're going to get out here and you're going to fix it. I'm not going to pay you.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Listen, for the
Michael,
4
how
other
much-
times they've been out here, for the 4 other times they've been out here, that's what I've said to them, and for 4 times it hasn't been fixed.
Michael,
I tell them on the phone, I'm not going to pay anything. You put it on my bill. It's
I
not
know.
gonna be paid.
Listen, I'm okay. I can usually get out of getting paid. Charging them.
Michael,
Okay.
It still doesn't get out.
And tell them to send somebody out there that knows.
Hey, wait, both
Michael.
of y'all. Nick, go ahead.
do you not have the link to the FCC complaint thing that I posted in the show several times?
Yeah,
Find it,
I
use it. You get 30 days, and they have to respond to you.
maybe
Do
that's the better.
Quit
Maybe that's
panicking.
the better route.
Well, with how well Michael rants and goes off on a topic, you would think that he wouldn't have these kind of issues. Like, those are usually the people that customer service people fear.
I know, because they don't want to listen to them.
Just
Yeah.
do whatever he wants. Just please keep him from calling back.
Michael, just prepare your research and rant for 4 hours on the phone, and you'll have your issue fixed
All right.
after about a week of that.
All right.
Yeah, see, Glenn can do it. You can do it too. All right, I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll talk about the d7II stress testing options here. Oh, that's so weird. All right, we should have my screen showing there. Yep, looks like it is. So what we got here is d7II does have a built-in stress testing utility and a reboot stress testing. This one actually I've used a lot more trying to figure out what an issue is with the system. Essentially what this will do is it'll just continuously reboot the system every time it starts up.
Hey, why don't you show them how to add that to the list, by the way?
Okay.
Just before we roll, because I think the guy that had the question he doesn't know much D7II. I had talked to him on a previous post and in the Podnuts community. And by the way, he said we have a customer for life because I gave him all the options and support and a big thing. But obviously he's not here now, I don't think. But if we could, he's gonna have. I invited him to come and we would just whatever because it sounds like he'd been paying for it for a bit, and he did not. He didn't have the benefit. He didn't know to use. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, Michael, quit sharing your background of the world being destroyed by meteors.
Whoa. It's because of your screenshot. Hold on. What's going on here?
No, it's because you're doing something on your computer.
That's your screen shared. What? No.
It shows the screen share. Just stop doing stuff on your computer so I stop looking at it.
You need a laptop or something.
How can you see what's on my other screen?
It's not on your other screen. It's whenever you do like your alt tab or whatever, it's showing your background.
Oh.
Stop doing that.
Work within the same screen. That is not the screen that we are using.
So there's two ways that you can add this to your here. All right, I heard feedback, but not anymore. All right, so the two ways you can add it to your automated setup here is you can right click on any of these columns except for this one, any of the custom columns, and say add app function. This will enable a right click drag and drop. And if you just do d7II all functions, that'll show you all the internal functions, and you can do stress, search, and you'll get those two options there. You can just right click and drag and add them in.
Yeah.
The other way you can do that is just going through the main route, main config, custom apps, do your same search here, and then add them to your list via double clicking this route. So those are the two options there. Now for the reporting stuff, Nick, what are they just going to run these two and then the work report will show the time that they started the stress test and the time they ended the stress test and or reboot?
Yeah. It should, yeah.
So if we go ahead and do these two, let's clear out everything here. You could go ahead and do an info report just so you get a whole bunch of the info for the system as well. But then we'll just do a start auto mode for these three.
Dang it. Where's my delete? Oh.
So here's the stress test utility. You can go ahead and open up Task Manager with it, which we have it set with d7II to do Process Explorer. But then we can run it indefinitely or run it for a predetermined amount of time. Let's just do it for 1 minute here. And we'll go ahead and say start. So we should see it. Yep, we got our stress testing utility there. Nick, do you have any background what's going on behind the buttons?
Well, I'll listen for kids. Sorry, I'm monitoring noises. Behind the buttons, the buttons. Okay, the stress utility. Essentially, it just fills up RAM and empties it a bunch of times while performing calculations that would stress the CPU as well. I don't know how to get more specific than that at the moment. In fact, I just put my computer back together for this show. I've been gone for a week and almost, and just put the computer back together for the show because I got my my new hard drives to put in. I was like, all right, well, I'm down, I'll do some this and some that. And then I was like, all right, no extra SATA cables.
Oh no.
So I was just putting it together right before the show. I was like,
well,
why don't you go ahead and start it, and you can show Task Manager what it looks like.
I already did.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
It ran for a minute.
Yeah. I would recommend running it for longer because you can see it didn't even get to fill up the RAM in that minute time.
Yeah, it'll take a bit. Right.
So the default's 15 minutes. But usually if I'm doing a stress test, I do the run indefinitely overnight and then stop it when I come back in. Is that y'all's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I run it overnight. Yeah, any stress test, but you can't limit it to a time. More. It has to be a long period of time for heat to equalize, in my opinion. So, hours definitely as a minimum.
Yeah. And Michael definitely knows about processors running hot.
That's the point is to check the temperature while you're doing this to make sure the temperatures are stable, which would be nice if I had a little thing in there.
Yeah, Michael, what's your Intel thing?
The tool?
That tells you the temperature?
Yeah. Well, there's the Intel Extreme tuning utility that for all modern Intel processors. Let me see if I can find a link. And there's also actually what is it? SpeedFan does a good job of monitoring processor temperature as well. I use that mostly for, not SpeedFan, excuse me, Afterburner, MSI Afterburner. I'll post that link too.
But those are two utilities you could easily monitor the temperatures with as well. Does that Intel one work with AMD ones too, off chance?
No, the one I use for that is called surprisingly it's called I think this works with AMD CPUs as well. Let me see here. Let me just double check. Yeah, it works with AMD as well. So this guy right here, core temp is good, and I also recommend, if you want to watch your video card, you could either do GPU-Z or actually MSI's Afterburner app actually will do the monitoring as well. It's got a great monitoring portion of it. So take a look. I'm sure you guys have your own tools for some of these things, but these are tools that I've done. The advantage of the Extreme Tuning utility, though, is that you can actually make changes. So if you were, let's say, like a reviewer and you're reviewing a product and you wanted to compare things at various clock speeds, it would be easy to do something like that within Windows and not reboot and go into the BIOS. So
cool. So thank you for those. We're going to go ahead and close this one out so we can see the reboot loop one. And again, basically what this does is just what it says here is it will put the system in a reboot loop for stress testing or diagnostics. You can set it to do it a certain number of times and how long you want to wait between reboots. You can even stress test between those reboots or run certain programs after it. And we can go ahead and do one here. Let's just start it for 1. And 2 minutes in between, we'll go ahead and stress test on those 2 minutes. And we will go ahead and do our auto login. Disable UAC so that it won't have any issues. And we'll go ahead and say go. So in 2 minutes that should restart, and while we wait on that, Leon, definitely if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to learn more about d7II, that's exactly what we're doing the shows for. So feel free to shout out, I mean, anything about what you use it for, if you want to go into more about what you could use it for, if you've ever had any questions on what any of the stuff does, we'll be happy to show it off here. And I believe this one was this rebooting was caused off of a client that said they had issues whenever the system restarted. So the way Nick determined to try to test that was just to continuously reboot the system until he found the issue that happened when it restarted. And I'm not sure if he ever did with that one, but I'm sure he did with a different one.
Howdy.
I was just explaining how you came up with this concept because if I remember correctly, a client came in saying that something happened after they started up or rebooted their computer, but we couldn't recreate it easily. So you're just like, well, I'll just have it reboot until it has the issue.
Yep. And in fact, the first thing the first time I did that, I wrote a batch file that just pinged, like 20 times or something on startup, and then I put in startup, and then it would, reboot, shutdown -R-F P0, and but yeah, and then I made it into that. I was like, well, the stress thing. And I was like, oh, well, it's not doing anything between reboots. Let me add some stress to it. Once I started coding, so.
Mm-hmm.
That was the concept. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's no worries. Leon is thinking about DSS at the present, and definitely, if you have any questions about those, feel free to ask away. Actually, we're really interested in talking about any questions about that, because that will be our next big project after Crypto Prevent 8 gets fully released and settled in. We'll be looking at DSS and upgrading it. So.
Oh yeah! Bow, bow.
So we can see the system rebooted here and started up d7II and started its restarting stuff. And it is going to go slower because it's running that stress testing in the background right now.
Bow, bow.
And Glenn enjoys DSS. He says he can recommend it.
Yay! Yes. Gotcha now. Stupid atomizer.
see a deployment example to new clients. That one's a little bit more difficult to show off right off the bat, but we can kind of go through the steps for that. I'm trying to check the system here and see what the stress testing is looking like. Because this one reboot is going to mean the reboot it started with and then one additional one. We already saw it was going to log me off in 2 minutes there. But you can see the stress testing is going on in the background while that 2 minutes is elapsing. So that one is actually a really good stress tester, because rebooting a system and then having it perform a lot of stuff does pretty well for stressing out parts, especially finding things that might fail during a boot cycle, which would be aggravating, is when the customer takes it home and tries to start it up and it doesn't start. So that would be terrible. Leon, there are a few different ways that you can do DSS stuff. Really, the preferred way is to set up your templates for that client that you are going to have it installed for, then apply that template to the client ID, then create a custom installer and just install that installer on each of the systems you want to monitor for that template/client. Not really a lot of complexities in that side of it, but we can show it off once we get this stuff finished off here. But really, that is one of the things with DSS is there's a lot of options, but it is kind of kept towards the simple management deployment side of things. So it is pretty much just configuring what you want your settings for and then building and installing the installer. So I'm not sure if 2 minutes have passed by or if the one reboot was its one. We'll give it another minute here.
No.
What was that, Michael?
The way I would interpret it, restart XX times and quit, is basically it restarted the computer once, and then after its 2 minutes, it ended. But
yeah, because it does look like it stopped the stress testing. It was just it threw me off because when it first started up, it said Windows is going to reboot in 2 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't use that tool terribly much.
But it does look like the stress testing side has stopped, and it has been well over 2 minutes since the first reboot initiated. Just go ahead and stop it now, and we'll show off the
the thing about that's not that big of a thing.
reports here.
Yeah. Let's answer Leon's questions and getting DSS deployed and the reports. Yeah.
So you can see when things were started and run. Obviously, if we'd run the CPU test for a lot longer, it would have had more time in between these two, and then probably have one more thing that you would want to run after it, just so you have an end time for the reboot loop stress testing stuff. But this, I would honestly not just stick to stress testing. I would, if I was getting ready to give out a new system, I would probably also go through a bunch of these audits as well, just to make sure all of these things are working. Because that's definitely another side, is the client gets the computer home and then they can't open their PDF file because nothing that reads Adobe's there, or a Word file or something to that effect. So being able to test all of these as well as stress testing I feel kind of go hand in hand when you're doing those. So that would also give it some more depth to this report. And then you can see the info report here. Some of these things are missing because it's a virtual machine and doesn't actually have any of those. So, but there's a lot of good information in the info report as well. So those are those, and we can check out Leon's setup here with DSS. So give me a couple moments to get one set up for that. So, and screen sharing for now. All right, I'll get a DSS system set up here that has everything that we can look at and deal with. If I can. Which one of these? That's real good. That one. Perfect. Glenn states he always runs an audit report on client PCs. It definitely is something that can help out, especially if you're got one of those picky customers. Oh, is this not going to work? I have a virtual machine set up perfectly for all of this, but it's been giving me some issues and problems recently. I think I'll have to redo it. There. Leon, for syncing email and phone number changes, I believe that's in the template, although no, that's on when you set up the client.
Yeah.
Well, and also it depends on which email and phone number changes. If it's the client email and phone number, that's normally not as big of an issue. If it's your phone number and email, that's much easier to show off there. But the one on the client end, when you set it up for the installer, that's not really that big of an issue, I don't feel. All right, so I got my system set up. Let me see if it actually does what I need to do first. All right, here we go. Leon says it's just out of sync with the INI on the server. You can ignore that. Well, you can actually just change it on the server too if you wanted to do that. The INI files and everything on there easily set up And that will probably be the best, just kind of show you some of the back end things of how all this stuff works. So let's go ahead and just start up the DSS console here. So when I start it up, you'll see I have some templates here and then some clients set up. And let's go ahead and show off the Explorer for the FTP. So for D-Support Suite, you have two things, your dsubscriptions.ini and your D-Support Suite directory. And under that directory, you can see you have all of your client IDs listed there. And similar situation for the subscriptions, you can just change that INI. But that will tell you how many of each of these you have installed, I believe. But each of those client IDs will have their config and rules set up here. And basically that's what's synced and saved here. So we'll close out here and show those off. So usually what I would do is start off with the templates and how I wanted those to be. Some various options you have are if you have a specific departments or certain things you want set up a certain way, you can do those. Shouldn't have showed off all of that stuff to start off with, but no worries. But yeah, you can go through and configure everything set up for specific people. Usually the templates, I find the most help coming in with the enabling custom buttons. You can set them up for specific people and what they may need for that department or something to that effect. But basically, once you go through and make all your configuration changes, which there's a ton of options in here that we could spend a few whole hours to deal with here. So we're not going to get into all of those on this episode. We do have a DSS one where Nick goes through most all of these options and explains them all. But to answer your question, Glenn, currently, yes, it is still important that you only run DSS on one system. The biggest reason for that is so that you can make sure things are kept more orderly for you, because the biggest change that would affect is if you have two employees trying to change a setting here, and then they both upload their config and rules to the server. Whoever uploads last is going to be the one that actually has their changes saved. So if you have multiple different places where you do it, then multiple people could be making changes, and then it wouldn't be synced as what you would think it would be. It would be synced as to whoever was the last to do something. So that could get fairly complicated fairly quickly. But basically, once you have a template, then you'll select a client ID or multiple client IDs, depending on how you have it set up for various departments or companies. And then you can do overwrite with full template or overwrite with just rules. And the rules that it's talking about there are for your event log rules here. So you can set up various custom event notifications to be emailed about if something shows up in their event log. But once you overwrite the client IDs with the template, then you will want to make sure you go in and upload config and rules, because until then, all of this stuff is going to be stored in your program data folder under Foolish IT and DSS Management Console. You can look through a lot of these directories, and that'll show you some of the various options and settings and setups, and you can pretty much pin things back to what you see here. So if you needed to change something quick, you could do it through just the INI configs and things that you have in here to play around with. So feel free to check around that directory as well. But basically, once you have your client set up with a template, then you would just create a custom installer. and that's where you could embed their name and phone number and email. Again, this side isn't as important, but you can still change those settings on the client system. These settings, I believe, get stored in the registry, so you can change those on the client system in the registry if you wanted to do that. But they're not as big of an issue as is your email, where all these reports and things are going, unless you have it set up to send emails to them as well, which is a template option there. So but basically, once you create an installer, you'll get an installer just like this, and you just double click and run it, and then that ends up putting the client on their system, which we have installed on here as well. You should be able to reinstall DSS to overwrite the current client installation if you want to go that route. That shouldn't cause an issue there. Yeah, so you can see the registry information is holding that phone number, name, and email for the client. And that's under Software, Foolish IT, D-Support Suite. But yeah, reinstalling the client over it, if you created a new custom installer and embedded different client data, you could easily just reinstall it. It's just going to overwrite those registry keys and then check the server for any updates to the config and rule set. So that is probably another section I would go ahead and make a point on, is your scheduling and auto updates. I would normally always have some of these options checked. If you're not doing a heartbeat, I would have it check at every launch, and the app updates I would do the same thing for. So if you have a heartbeat, you can just have it on update on the heartbeats, which will be more regularly done than them possibly opening the app. But I would normally probably check all 4 of these, just so that if there's something wrong with the heartbeat, or the service gets messed up, or something to that effect, next time they open it, it will automatically update and enforce those. So if it's not updating for some reason, you can always just call the client and say, hey, can you just open up that program and make sure everything looks okay and it opens fine, because that will automatically update it as well. So I usually do recommend setting the updates on both the heartbeat and the launch, just so you can take care of both those issues. You can also do an automated update schedule, so it does it at a specific time and place. So those would definitely be helpful as well. So yeah, that is about it for the deployment and management side of it, other than updating the client versions, which pretty much would recommend at this point you just use the latest client version, which probably is the only option that you have on there. And I believe that should be it for right now, but otherwise, like I said, a lot of the stuff too, you can use the actual FTP server and the INI files and the program data and adjust things on the fly that way. But using the interface is what it's made for, to do that. But if you wanted to learn more about the background and what it's doing, you can definitely check those things out if you want to do those as well. So cool. Any other questions or things on those? My generic setup here is not the one that I had last time. Get support session and some custom app buttons, it looks like here. I don't even have that set up to do what it's supposed to. So definitely play around with it. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask us, because again, that's one of the things that we're focusing on for our next big update. So we do have quite a few changes and implementations, things to make much better there. And it's a very, very exciting product we're excited about to work with more and develop a lot more on. So go ahead and stop sharing my screen for now. Cool, that sounds awesome, Leon. So that is those. Does anyone have anything else they want to shout out or talk about or go for here? Oh, I did have a question from James CompCorrect this weekend. He had gotten the message that some updated components exist, but after he updated it, he still got the same message. And I've seen that issue happen with the modules or sometimes the third-party tool downloads. And usually the best recommendation for that is just delete both of those folders and let d7II re-download everything.
Yeah, you're talking about d7II, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's and with updates too, there's that Nick provides that delete temp files button there, because there have been some situations where that causes some problems. Also, too, I've seen some issues with d7 d7II version 2. We're at version 3 right now, but d7II, the major versions of d7II typically can't upgrade to the next version, or at least not in the case of 2 to 3. So if you do updates and it keeps reporting that there's updated information, please check your version number, make sure you're on 3. I still, every once in a while, run across a d7II user, and these are people that use d7II on a daily basis and still have version 2, and I'm always shocked by that. But
there should be or there was a thing with version 2 that just said, hey, click this and it'll...
It does. It does.
But it doesn't update automatically because of some setting changes and some other things that wouldn't be compatible.
Yeah.
Custom apps, I think, was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the what I find the greatest about d7II is that it will re-download everything that you need. So honestly, all you actually need is the d7II executable. Throw that in a new folder and start it up. You'll have to register it unless you grab your reg.settings.dat out of the config folder and throw it in a config subfolder. But other than that, it'll just grab everything you need, and if you've saved your config to the cloud, it can re-download everything and set it all back up quick and easy. And honestly, that's a nice way to just start off fresh, make sure everything's working and all the updates are updated and nothing left over from previous upgrades and all that stuff. So I enjoy that fact and do that sometimes with my d7IIs, just to kind of freshen up and getting third-party apps that I might have downloaded and no longer use anymore kind of cleaned up and sorted out there. So. All right, well, cool. We did a whole show on foolish IT software. Ooh.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I have to lay down some kid law here. Yeah, periodically, I didn't know. Matter of fact, I might have to go do it again in a second. I already know.
Look, that sounds like some Middle East style stuff.
There's 7-year-old, 9-year-old, 11-year-old. It's not good. Playing Minecraft unsupervised.
Oh boy.
The evils of Minecraft. Yeah.
Tell me about it. I got the youngest is convinced that it teaches him about, stuff. It's educational.
That's your.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, because you can. you can make charcoal from wood in a furnace or something, and like everything else is just.
I mean, it's a
Hey,
fun game.
I saw some
Whatever.
real life. Let's see if I can find that link because that'll be fun. There was someone did a real life Minecraft video where like they did it live action. It was kind of funny. Let's see if I can find it quickly here. No, but I did find that apparently they're going to come out with a Minecraft movie. Who would have thought?
Imagine that. Hey, so I replaced my keyboard.
Oh, good job.
I decided to go back to this style. Whoops, there we are.
Does that have a hole in it?
It does indeed.
That's weird.
And but the delete keys and a few other keys are like, yay, it has a delete key, which I was complaining about the other day with the Chromebook thing. And I don't know, some of the buttons are a little weird or different. It's not the split that bothers me because I used to do the split, but something else is weird about it. Either way, Anyway, separate numpad.
Well, that's weird.
Isn't it though? But I can put it wherever I want. I can put it on the other side of my mouse now, so I have the mouse in between the keyboard and have the numpad on the end. It's kind of neat. So, but look at the mouse. Look at this guy. Look at this.
Is that
it's
a
like
blob?
It's a blob. That's a blob, blobbity blob.
That's weird.
And it's going to take some getting used to, but it feels good in ergo immediately. But it's just I'm used to, yeah.
Dude, I cannot say enough about this Performance MX mouse.
Really?
It is so nice. Like the really the nicest part about it, especially for me, not wanting to like put this in a charger or whatever every time, is I just hook up the cord to it and it starts powering and is used just like a regular corded mouse at that time.
Neat. That's nice.
So even if the battery dies on me because I don't pay attention to how often I need to charge it, I can just plug it up and just keep working like regular.
My mouse will my older mouse will Nova branded job with the all-in-one that I bought a couple years ago was a demo system at ChannelCon. Michael will remember, but yes, I was still using the keyboard and mouse that came with that all-in-one up until last week because I just liked it. It was so slimline and not there, the keyboard. But in any case, it was what was I talking about? Oh, never mind. Oh, when the battery goes low on this thing, it tells you.
Yeah.
It's not like it will have the little the little light and it'll say that, but you'll notice it before that because like the mouse will just intermittently like be weird.
Well, this has a 3 LED for how much batteries is left, and it continues to work even when I'm on like the last battery, and the screen is even like yelling at me, "Hey, recharge your battery." Like, nope, not yet. I can't find that movie, but the funniest thing about that YouTube Minecraft thing was that he took a stone and a block of wood and he put it together and it turned into a hammer. Because that's what you can do in Minecraft. You mine stone and you mine wood, and then you put 2 blocks together and they become a object that you can use. So that was kind of funny how he had just a stone and a block of wood and made a hammer. That's what they're learning.
I know, that's great education.
Oh man, if things really worked like that, that would be awesome to learn. I would be totally down for that. Need a hammer? Use a stone.
Build computers inside Minecraft using the available resources.
Blocks.
So
Blocks, Michael. Building Legos.
Yeah, they built computers with it.
yeah. They built computers within the game. So with like